And so it begins, race 1 of what will be an all-out elimination war. The rules are simple, don't be last, or for a few rounds, don't be last or second to last. Every round we will be eliminating riders until there is one left standing. The winner of this elimination race will win a cash prize, and as an added bonus, there's a wild card of 7th place who can also win the cash prize. This first lap was absolutely chaos. Riders scrambling for position, some fighting to win, others fighting to just survive. Right away, one name stood out to me, and that was Bob's son. No one really knew who he was, but the speed he showed, it wasn't normal. There was something about the way he rode, like he had done this before. Maybe he was even an undercover pro, waiting to reveal himself. Midway through this race, I found myself right in the mix. The goal wasn't to necessarily dominate, it was just to stay alive and minimize my mistakes. One mistake, one crash, and I could be done. The leaders were checking out, and in the back, there was a huge battle happening because every rider knew what was at stake: survive or be eliminated. In the end, I held my ground safe for now, but the 2 riders in the back were eliminated and their race was over in just 1 lap. Their chances for the prize money gone in the blink of an eye. Race 2 was coming up and things were only going to get crazier. Race 2 is here, the field is smaller and the stakes are higher and the eliminations do not stop. This time I felt it. I can win this whole thing. I had the speed, the confidence, and even the right amount of luck to make this happen. Look at some of these insane passes I made throughout this race. Oh my, I tried to get around the outside of meat cleaver here. Nowhere for me to really go. Cray has caught us. I'm gonna rail around the outside, get a twofer.
Bye, have a beautiful time.
Oh my gosh, that was a sick pass. But I wasn't the only one with something to prove. The fight at the front was just as intense as ever, but as always, the real danger lurked in the back. 17th and 16th place were being eliminated at the end of this race. And amidst all these battles, there was still Bob's son, the mystery of this whole event. No one could ignore him anymore. His speed was too real and he was too precise. But the question remained, who was this guy? Was he a well-known pro under a fake name? Maybe just a hidden talent finally showing up? Or maybe he's just a guy named Bob's son who happened to be incredibly fast. Either way, I knew one thing. If I wanted to win, I'd have to go through him. As the checker flag loomed, I was desperate to make a statement to Bob that I was here and I was here to stay. He made a mistake, and this is one of the cleanest passes I've ever made for the win. Oh, he makes a mistake. Cut to the inside there. Watch this pass, boys. Watch this pass, boys. As I was asserting my dominance over Bob, there were 2 riders at the back of the pack, unfortunately, getting eliminated. Races 3 and 4 were pretty straightforward, with Bob showing that he still is the man to beat right now, winning race 3. Then in race 4, he gets the whole shot and Bob and I battle all the way to the end. But there's a new player that emerges, #1 ranked player in the world, Cray, getting his first win. After both of those races, we're closing in on the top 10 and the competition is heating up big time. Welcome to the top 10. The eliminations have thinned the field and now every single rider left is very fast. With only one person going home after this race, the pressure was real. But before I could even think of that, I completely butchered my start. I was basically dead last. This race wasn't about winning, it was about surviving. I just needed to fight through the chaos and stay ahead of one rider. Unfortunately for everyone else, chaos is exactly what we got, and it was my fault. Oh no! Oh no, that was just carnage. Okay, I got a really good run, and then I kind of threw for everybody, I'm not gonna lie. This is not how 7,000 hours should look. As the race went on, the intensity ramped up, and Bob's son, who was one of the most consistent threats of this entire series, finally made a mistake. That left just me and Meat Cleaver battling out front for the top spot. But I wasn't gonna hold back. I found my rhythm, got the power to the ground, and sent it for one of the best laps I've ever put down on this track. Oh yeah, that was a good lap. And just like that, I got the win from nearly last, and this boosted my confidence through the roof. But there was no time to celebrate. The field's getting smaller and the competition's only getting faster. We were down to 9, and just as I said earlier, I wanted to remind you that 7th place earns $25, so we need to start paying attention to the back of the field. Right out of the gate, it was chaos. I got cut off and had to fight for my line. Suddenly, I was in a full-blown dogfight, but then I threw down one of the nastiest scrubs of my life and totally kept my cool. Big scrub! Oh my gosh! Dude, that scrub was insane! It was an all-out brawl in the opening corners. Riders cutting inside, scrubbing over jumps, and sending it down hills like absolute maniacs. Lucid nearly went off the track, Bob's son was still flying, and I had to fight my way through the pack. After my previous races, I was feeling very confident, and then I pulled off one of the cleanest passes I've ever made, and again proceeded to keep my cool. Oh my gosh! Yo, what a pass! The confidence kicked in, the rhythm was there, and I was starting to check out. I made a little mistake, and that reminded me one bad move can change everything. Bob's son was still right behind me, and I was still trying to figure out, is he really just some random rider, or is he someone big playing it under a different name? Either way, I couldn't focus on that. I had to stay locked in to get another P1. Another rider eliminated, and the field is getting even tighter and even faster. With each elimination, the pressure is growing, and in race 7, disaster struck. Cray went down early, but he took me down in the process. I was dead last just like that. And in an elimination race, that is the worst possible place you can be. I had to move fast. No time to think, no time to strategize, just full send, baby. And you know what that got me? Another crash. I won't lie, this is looking pretty bad. The pack had pulled away and I was stuck fighting from behind. But then a little glimmer of hope. A few riders went down ahead of me, including the almighty Bob's son. He was in trouble too. Every pass was mattering now. I needed to put as much distance between last place and myself as possible. I had to pick my lines, avoid collisions, and make moves without making mistakes. Lucid was just ahead of me and I wanted to get around him, but I did not want to risk both of us going down, and then he makes a huge mistake, which allowed me to make the pass pretty clean. Somehow, after one of the worst starts of this series, I was able to make it back to a P4 without getting eliminated. Right, we are gonna recover from that just nightmare of a race, boys, to get a solid, I don't even know, P4, we'll take that. Cray's finally back to getting a win. The next rider eliminated would get the $25 7th place prize. For some, this was going to be a cushion or a reason to take it easy, but for the rest, it was still about the pride of winning. Lucid went down early and then he got 5 seconds of cuts, and just like that, his race changed and he earned the $25. Meanwhile, up front, the real battle was unfolding. I was on an absolute mission. With both of my biggest competitors, Cray and Bob's son, just ahead, I was absolutely sending it, trying to get around them. Cray goes down, and it was now just me and Bob, baby. I had to make a decision. Do I force a pass, or do I play the long game? Do I sit behind him out of patience and strategy and let him think that he's got me covered? Let him feel comfortable and let him believe that he can hold me off. That decision paid off, and Bob made a big mistake putting me into the lead, and this means that I'm going to get the win, and the next race is going to determine the top 5 in this series. As race 9 takes off and Lucid walks away with his $25, I see 4D low here, a rider who just a few rounds ago was barely holding on to a transfer position and is now in a top 6 situation. That is just the insanity of elim races. Anything can happen. There wasn't much time to waste, and I was sending it towards the front, scrubbing, taking outside lines with full commitment. And then I came up on Cray. As I've said, this is one of the best players in the game, and he knows exactly what he's doing. I tried to make an outside pass on Cray, and he was able to defend it perfectly. I then locked in, and I knew exactly where I was going to make my pass. And you know what? I was going to make a very clean pass. Scrub to the inside. I'm so sorry. No, I'm so sorry, Cray. I really didn't mean to hit Cray that hard, and I did not want him to get eliminated. But luckily for Cray, he was able to survive. And just like that, our top 5 is secure. We got Bob's son, Cray, 4D Low, who snuck in there, myself, and then this guy right here, Simply, who we haven't talked about much, but, well, stay tuned. We're going to talk about him quite a bit. With the top 5 riders behind the gate, things were heating up very quickly. In the first corner, Simply was simply not having it, and without any hesitation, straight took me out. Boys, we were playing elims, but Simply, he was playing Demolition Derby. Simply continued to ride like prime Justin Barcia, aggressive, unpredictable, and honestly, borderline a straight-up hazard on this track. If I wanted to survive, I knew I needed to stay well ahead of him. Cray was out front, Bob's son was looking solid, and Simply was just out for blood, it looked like, taking everybody out. Despite him riding like a little bit of a hazard, he was actually flying. We were bar to bar, trading spots, scrubbing everything, and sending it as hard as we could. Simply may have been riding over his head a bit, and he went down hard. Lucky for him, there was no one around, and WD-40 unfortunately was eliminated in this race, and just like that, we're down to the final 4. We are now in the final 4 and Simply made it clear. This is elimination. Anything goes. On the start, none of us really wanted to get too close to Simply. He had already shown he wasn't afraid to pump people into orbit, and honestly, his mind games were working. The 4 of us were riding very well, all very, very close to each other. And then absolute chaos breaks out for me. Cray sends it to the inside hard, and I mean hard, where he took me completely out. I was so worried that my race was over, and then in the next corner, I see Cray punt Simply over the berm. Unfortunately for Cray, it backfired and he took himself down. Cray just gave us like 3 game-changing moments in 2 corners and flipped this entire race upside down. On track, I was sitting in a good position to qualify through to the next round, but there was one problem. I had cuts. I had to make sure I finished far enough ahead of Cray to not get beat by him on cuts. Got a good run down there. I got 1 second of cuts. Oh, we're just gonna beat him. Cray is going to get eliminated here. Oh my gosh, that was scary. And then there were 3, Bob, Simply, and myself. And Simply starts this race out by being the absolute menace that he is and just completely obliterates Bob. I knew that Simply was going to cause problems for myself, and so I knew I had to make a choice, and I had to do it for Bob. I lined it up, I scoped it out, and I sent it. Boom! There goes Simply, away and into the abyss and the clutches of Bob. It was now Bob's problem to deal with. That was my moment. I had no pressure, no battles, just smooth sailing to the finish. But what I didn't know is that behind me, Bob and Simply were having one of the most intense battles I had ever seen. Simply somehow came back and was right behind Bob for almost this entire lap. He executed a perfect lap, and going into the final 180 corner, Simply absolutely sent it into Bob, making them both crash. At first glance, it looks like Bob is able to get up and cross the finish line first, but then cuts. Look, oh, they're both down. They're both down in the corner. What is this? It's gonna be Bob, but he got cuts. Oh my gosh. No. Oh my gosh. That's insane. All right, boys, here we go. The ultimate showdown, a 1v1 between Simply and I. He's saying he's gonna be clean, but in reality, I don't think he's going to. All I know is I gotta check out and leave him in the dust. Unfortunately, I get a pretty bad start, and I do my best to stay low and scrub and just make up as much time on him as possible. Boys, we gotta lock in here. He says he's gonna be clean. Is that the case? I don't really know. Oh no, I'm off the course. Oh boys. Unfortunately, then I make a pretty big mistake here. That mistake then compounded into another mistake and another mistake and another mistake. Somehow I was still able to stay behind Simply, and it seemed like both of us were making mistakes, but Simply was riding so well. He even took this line that I had no idea even existed. He's gonna go inside, he's gonna hop that rut. That's a fast line, I didn't even know that existed. But I wasn't gonna give up, I knew I could still do this. Closing in at the end of the lap here, and Simply started to do what he does and get a little funny. But then the most insane thing happened. Oh boys, this is scary. Oh, he tries to get funny there. He tries to get funny again. Oh, yes! He cross-jumped me! And I train canarded him somehow! Oh my gosh! No way! Oh my gosh, there's no way! 2 seconds of cuts! 2 seconds of cuts! Yes! Yes! Oh my god. And just like that, boys, we are going to win this elimination race, and the legend of Bob's son is going to continue. I still don't know who that is. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.